Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. These words from Jesus come on the heels of a conversation between the two other criminals being executed that Good Friday morning, as these three crossmates hang in the increasing heat of the morning, as the crowd and soldiers mock Jesus, hurling insults at Jesus. One of them joins in the verbal barbs, perhaps out of frustration, perhaps out of the reality that now is surely setting in, a sure and sinking sense that now he is truly dying. There is no one to come help, and that this is the end of his life. He asked Jesus the question that I'm sure some of us would have asked had we been hanging there feeling the life slowly draining from us. If you are the Messiah, do something about this. Save yourself, and while you're at it, save us too. Don't hold back, man. Now is the time to do something. Prove yourself to be the Messiah that you said you were all along. Jesus says nothing. But the other criminal rebukes the first and says, "Don't you fear God? Since you are under the same sentence, we are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he says, turning to Jesus, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus responds with these words, "Truly, I say today you will be with me in paradise." This conversation between the three hoisted on their crosses in the hot morning sun fulfilled the prophecy that Isaiah made 574 years earlier. Isaiah's words were, "They made his grave with the wicked, although he had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth. Therefore I will allot him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong. Because he poured himself out to death, and was numbered with the transgressors, yet he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors." We heard just a moment ago with the first words that Jesus speaks from the cross, how he interceded on behalf of not only those who hammered the nails into his hands and his feet, but also for the disciples who fled, and even for us today. And now we hear how Jesus intercedes for this second criminal and speaks these words of grace and truth and love. One of the things that I find truly striking, however, is that the second thief has this kind of clarity, this kind of depth of thought, depth of faith in these final hours of his life. He is perhaps the only truth teller aside from Jesus in thought or deed in these last hours as Jesus hangs dying on the cross. The words Jesus speaks to him in response are the words that all of us who believe wish to truly hear. "Truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." I mean, aren't those the words we long to hear? If you search deep down inside of you, whether you believe fully or whether you just want to believe, aren't these the words that you are desperate to hear, desperate to believe in, desperate to know that they are truth? Desperate to know that there is a paradise in the first place. In the Greek, it's the same word that's used to describe the Garden of Eden, God's garden, where there is no such thing as cancer, there is no such thing as inequality or prejudice, or gun violence, or hatred, or deceit, or lying, or stealing, but instead fullness, love, wholeness, and new, eternal, unending life with God, our Creator. In this creation, however, the one we have with us today, there is no avoiding death. Death is an eventuality for each of us here today, and almost all of us will not know the hour or even the day that we will die. this bandit, this highwayman, this criminal whose own actions have been so heinous that they have landed him next to Jesus, has this small amount of faith. He has an amazing clarity of belief and hopes that we, who are followers of Jesus, know we will be with Jesus in paradise. These astounding words of Jesus to this other criminal come even as he hangs dying. And what is astounding to me, and perhaps they shouldn't be really, but what I find so amazing is that Jesus is still centered on building relationship. Jesus is still focused on offering mercy. Jesus is still focused on promising what he's always promised to all who believe, that there is no barrier to entry into paradise, it seems, except that you might believe that through faith that Jesus is the Messiah. Even faith in this bloody, sweating mess of a Messiah. Remember, our sins did that to Christ. Even with this Messiah bleeding on the cross, Jesus makes clear that paradise is even a possibility. Yet the words he speaks ring true. Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. Even more astounding, and by the way, equally telling about the true nature of God, which again Jesus embodies fully throughout his entire life, is that even as he's dying for the sins of the whole world, as Jesus slowly suffocating on the cross of death, he does not die completely alone. God gave him a companion. God gave him someone who got it. Not one who we would think would get it, perhaps. I would have guessed the disciples would have been there with Jesus, but they've long ago fled and locked themselves in that upper room out of fear. God gives Jesus a believer with mighty faith. He's a believer who recognizes and truly sees who Jesus is, and who simply just wants in. And Jesus responds, yes, you will be with me there today. Today we will be in paradise. We'll go together, you and I.